feminism?
Feminism is basically women wanting to be equal with men, not wanting to be better than men, as some people have tried to make it out to be like.
I think it's a movement to try and improve the equality for females, since that's who the movement was started by, it's females. However, I do think that a lot of people see that as a sexist thing, because saying equality for females, I think a lot of people don't realise that by definition that literally means equality for males as well.
I think it's gender equality. I think it's men and women being equal. Obviously women are trying harder recently, and however long feminism has been going on for, to sort of advocate for what they've been through in history.
I'd say feminism is to do with equal rights for men and women. I think that's what it's always been, it's just been misinterpreted sometimes.
I just think it's equality of the sexes. Yeah, to me that's what it is.
Because I know a lot of people think it's women wanting to be better than men, but it's not, in my opinion anyway. It's just about wanting to be equal and equal rights, you know, equal pay, equal sportsmanship and stuff like that.
It's simply women being equal to men, socially and financially.
It's that unfortunate assumption that it's female superiority that has kind of decreased feminism's stock over the last couple of years.
What does feminism mean to you?
Feminism is women no longer being degraded. Like when you look at some countries where there's women who have just expected to stay at home, look after children, not get an education, and that's all they're forced to have. Feminism's the fight to make sure that every woman everywhere can have the right for an education and a better life.
It means knowing that I'm treated as equally as males are in society and amongst my friends and amongst my peers, and those above me and those below me as well.
It's useful for everybody, and I think it's really important. Everybody should, well, I don't want to say that, but it's like, it should be a part of everybody's life, because around us there are women that are treated badly and stuff. But
trying to find that equality between men and women, but I think sometimes it's misunderstood by people, and it's sometimes with like extreme feminists you get people that want more rights for women maybe, and that's when it kind of like blurs the lines and people don't like it.
I see feminism as a waste of time, in my opinion. I think it's I don't think it's worth it. Not as in they shouldn't have the same rights, as in I don't see the point in, you know, really getting it across, because I think it's getting a negative image.
It doesn't affect me personally. I learn about it. I experience in some forms knowing people who are feminists and people who are totally against it as well. It's just experiencing it for me.
For me, mainly it's a safe space for women. You know, all women's issues can be discussed in feminism and they're all of equal importance.
I think it's very important. I think I would struggle. I would struggle to live in a world where men are definitely not superior, because obviously I've grown up thinking we're equal, and then finding out in bits and bobs how much we're not is a frightening thing.
Do you think there is a difference between gender equality and feminism, those two labels?
I think with the way that today's society is going, that there is now a difference, because you do see, especially on social media such like Tumblr, where feminism's been taken into a complete different context, where people are like, oh, women are better than men, women should get more than men, women go through this and that and that, and it's just gone completely out of control.
Like, a lot of people do think that because of the word feminism having, you know, the female aspect, and because it was started by women, a lot of people think that it is just a movement for women, but equality for females means exactly the same as equality for males. So yeah, I think it's exactly the same.
I don't think it should be called feminism, because that highlights that there's a difference between genders. So I think they both mean the same thing, just with different names. Yeah.
No, well, I think gender equality and feminism are the same thing in concept. I think it's just perceived differently by people, because feminism, well, the word female is in feminism pretty much.
Not really. I think that feminism is mainly aimed at that point.
I know other people totally disagree and think feminists want all for themselves and not the opposite gender as well. but I think it's sort of merged together in a sense.
I really dislike it when people discard the label feminism and put gender equality on. It's like, you know, the word feminism has got fem in it because it's made by women, for women. That doesn't mean that men can't be a part of it, but the entire world was made for men. This one safe space for women should be named as such. So although they're the same thing, it really annoys when people are angry about the label feminism.
With people who think that all feminists are like, we should get rid of all men and all that sort of thing, which it's not. But some people are like that, they're radical, but I think there's a bit of a stigma on feminism itself if you said you're a feminist.
It's why feminism is now looked at in a negative way by some, because it's the few that say, oh, women should be on top, women should be superior, that now people think that's what feminism is, and it's a shame because feminism is obviously seeking out, men and women, seeking out equal rights for both.
Has that ever affected you?
It has affected me quite a lot, especially with like, considering a while back I did come out as a feminist and a lot of people are like, oh, so you're one of those man haters that you see all the time, and I've seen quite a lot of people, especially, not to name anyone, and people have lied about being raped just because they didn't like someone, because women are starting to think that they have this power where they can basically just make men's life hell, when that's not right. That's not gender equality and that's not feminism.
The only thing that is different between me and men is when I play sport. When I play badminton and mixed, obviously the lady's shown as almost the weaker one, so she's at the front trying to defend, whilst the man at the back's got all the power. I think that's the only reason, but it doesn't bother me as such.
And I know a lot of people who identify as feminists sort of don't like that, don't like people saying, oh, I don't need feminism, so I'm not a feminist. But I think we should probably try and take the positives out of that and think, if someone doesn't need feminism, then feminism's doing a good job.
I mean, obviously I'm not as bad as some countries where you're not allowed to drive and you're not allowed any kind of wealth or anything. But the biggest thing that affects me, and it sounds petty but it's really annoying, is whenever I like something that's traditionally for men, like, I don't know, sci-fi or video games or football, people go, oh, you're doing it just to impress men, and it's like, no, this is actually what I like.
Like people you don't know, like in Leeds or something, like say something to you. Yeah. That's it's not sexism, but it's because you are a girl. They are like think that they are. Because they can say
because girls are known to be vulnerable.
There was
it's all just like sexual things.
There were some boys and like he actually like jumped in front of me and I was like, I am going to be attacked. Like I thought I was going to be attacked, but he was just like you know, like it was a bit intimidating, but he was like.
Yeah, when I was in college, I had some very interesting friends, and you know the amount of objectifying that they did of the opposite sex was quite scary.
Do you think men can be feminists?
I think men can be feminists. I mean, any man that stands for like equal rights on behalf of both genders, that's definitely feminism. So of course men can be feminists.
Oh yeah, completely. Yeah, because I mean it's fighting for men's rights as well, because they mean the same thing, men's rights and women's rights.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just like gender equality. You know, men can be feminists just as women can, because they want to fight for the same thing, you know, for both genders to be equal.
Say that anyone can be a feminist, you don't have to be a male or female.
Do you consider yourself a feminist?
Yeah, I would consider myself a feminist.
I think, yeah, they can, oh yeah, maybe. Especially, yeah, some men, some types of men, but I've never come across anyone really, apart from my cousin, it's just weird.
Yeah, of course, you know, because what I think about it being equal, men can want women to be on their same level, rather than having, you know, like in the olden days they would be overpowering and they'd, you know, be the breadwinners and what have you.
Men totally can be feminists, but they should never dictate what feminism is or what a feminist can and can't be. You know, they're welcome into the movement, but a lot of feminists get very irritated.
Yeah, I'm a feminist. You know, you don't have to. The term feminist is so over-analysed these days. You know, feminist simply means that you wish that both genders were equal on the level terms, and that's my wish.
Can you describe a world where feminism is successful? Can you describe what it looks like?
See a world where women can walk down the street and men think that don't think that whistling is a compliment. Or a world where there isn't a wage gap, which there still is.
When women can earn the same wage, have the same right to go out and work, have the same right to get educated, that's what feminism looks like.
I guess I think we'd have more leaders like Angela Merkel, and the pay gap wouldn't be as big, or you know, just zero if possible.
BBC News would cover female hockey and male hockey, and then male rugby and female rugby and everything like that. So I think there'd just be a complete balance between genders when it comes to sports, when it comes to success and things like that.
I think it would just be the same pay for men and women, the same rights for men and women. I think it would maybe be just like everyone just equal. I think it'd be a better place.
There would be like no discrimination between men and women. You know, when you go to like important business meetings, they'll be equal, it'll be all men. Or in sports, you know, they'll have the same reward throughout.
Well, I think it's kind of like now how, like, the old-fashioned need for feminism was about women not having as many rights, and now we do.
But there's still a gap between like pay. Women still get paid less than men for doing the same job. In some cases, not in all, but in some.
Yeah.
Who do you think is the most prominent individual in the feminist movement, if there is one?
Well, I think there are quite a few. I mean, there's Emma Watson who did this brilliant speech at He for She, which is a really great movement trying to get men on board with feminism. And obviously she's very popular among teenagers, and these are, you know, the teenagers are people who are going to grow to be adults and form the new society that we're going to live in, so she's going to be very, very influential. And there are people like Caitlin Moran, who's a comedian, and she's a very, very strong feminist. She really does believe in women's rights, and she gets it across in a really funny, sort of satirical way almost, and I think that's really inspiring as well.
To be fair, I don't think there's anyone who's particularly prominent. I think any woman that can go out of their way to make sure, like, to just defy any sort of expectations that society sets that women have to stay at home and like look after children, any woman that defies that, that's being a feminist, and that's being a prominent feminist.
I'd say, to start with, you know, one of the first people I'd like, Anne Bronte, Charlotte Bronte, Emily Bronte, the Bronte sisters that were first writing feminist novels, you know, Jane Eyre, things like that.
Ellen from America.
Ellen DeGeneres.
Is she the lesbian in America? Yeah, probably her. Yeah, I've seen her babble on about it.
I think we need more people like Janet Mock and Calpurnia Adams who represent trans feminism or women of colour in feminism.
Like, Beyonce does it in a good way, but people consider her as kind of slagging up men in a way while she's being a feminist.
I think there's quite a few, like Emma Watson, the She.
At the moment, definitely Emma Watson. After that amazing speech she gave the UN, she's definitely the front runner. It's unfortunate how people have reacted to that in terms of what they've been saying about her, but again, it's the silly minority.
Do you believe women are discriminated in today's society?
I do, not particularly in this country or in like America or anything, like first world countries, but if you look to places like Afghanistan and like Middle Eastern countries where there's women who have like their faces like covered with glass and stuff because they're wearing makeup, or there's women who have been hunted down and killed because they wanted to get an education or get a job. There's still discrimination against women today, and that needs to end.
I guess in the first world it is a lot better for women, but in third world countries where women aren't allowed to drive, aren't allowed to vote, aren't allowed to leave the house sometimes, you know, forced into marriage and things like that, I think it's really sad that people are discriminated against like that.
I don't know, I think they're not when it comes to life in general, you know, that women have thousands of shops for them and men have thousands of shops for them, you know, like when shopping for clothes and things. And the coverage they get in movies, it's not bad.
Yeah, I think they are in many aspects of life, not just economically, like pay. I think they get, like in films, I think they're sexualised, but I also think that men are becoming sexualised as well.
They are discriminated against. Men are too, but not to the degree that women are. You know, it's an important part of the argument that, you know, yes, you can say, oh well, men are too, but not to the extent that females are.
In the UK, I would say no. I'd say civilised worlds, no. You know, obviously in countries like Asia and countries like that, obviously yeah, but then that's linked into religion. So
there are some jobs that men majority take the higher paid, you know, roles and what have you. But I think it's equaling out more now.
In terms of body image kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like a lot of girls get slagged off for dressing a certain way or looking a certain way
like,
more than guys do. Guys don't really get picked on for appearance.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of catcalling and people go, things that people brush off as laddism, they don't realise is misogyny.
Why do you think people act this way? Why do you think people do catcalling?
I think a lot of misogyny is, you know, they think it's reasonable behaviour. And a lot of comedians and a lot of the media sort of pass off misogyny as something that's a bit of a joke or a bit of a laugh.
There's many reasons, obviously. Some of it's because of religion, some bits it's like because people holding on to the past, like people don't want things to change.
A hell of a lot of people think of feminists as bad people. Now, I'm not saying that that's the general opinion because I can't speak for the general opinion, obviously, because I'm one person. But a lot of people say, oh, feminists are crazy and they're all going too far. And we're not. Not all of us, not all of us. But I do agree that some of us are. Because there are women who just abuse the word death because it's got the word femme. So they think they can do what they want and say, no, you know, feminism, I can do whatever I want.
That's tradition, it's just the way it's always been. I'm not saying it's right, but...
So do you think it's time for a change?
Yeah, definitely.
I think I've got the wrong impression of feminism, in my opinion. I think I've seen too many people who are rather not so for it, and then people who are really for it, and there's no one in between.
Still there's that tradition because it's still in, you know, the generations that we have. But obviously as generations move on, I think it'll just, like, you know, take it and phase through it.
A small amount of people that make the majority disagree with the whole ideal.
So do you think it's a problem with the media rather than society?
I think they sort of feed off each other. Society does things, the media represents them, then a younger generation sees it on the TV and thinks, well, that's acceptable behaviour then.
And lastly, do you have anything you'd like to say to feminists?
I'm down.
A lot of people who say, I'm not a feminist, I'm an equalitist, which isn't actually a word, it's egalitarianist, but that really gets on my nerves, but that's just me being, you know, being really petty. But I think if you are an equalitist, or, you know, choosing the word that they prefer, then you believe in equality across gender, race, age, etc., then you are a feminist, because if you believe in the equality of genders, then by definition, that's what you are.
I don't want to impose myself on them and say to, you know, be a feminist sort of thing, but just think, maybe place yourself in their shoes.
Well, I wouldn't want to say become a feminist if you don't believe in equal rights, but I think equal rights is something that everybody deserves.
It's good to embrace it. Don't label yourself. If you want to, that's fine. But it's good to just see it happen. You know, it's today's society, it's a culture. Just let it grow on you.
I'd like to ask anyone who says that they're not a feminist, I'd like to ask them to explain to their mother or their daughter or their sister why they think that they don't deserve the same things as men.
I don't see an issue with people that aren't feminist.
No, but I would just say, like, if it was the other way around, if they're male, no, they don't necessarily have to be, but if they were, like, they'd want things to change if it was like regarding them, so why wouldn't they?
You need to look at it at the point of feminist is simply believing that a man and a woman should be equal. If you don't believe that, I think you've got an issue, because you need to, you know, you do belong 20 years ago if you don't believe in that. 80 years ago is when that was for. We're now growing up, and it's time to be equal. It's time to stop being so closed-minded, and it is time to start believing in equality, and that's what feminism is. And in that, I am a feminist, and I wish more were.
People who consider themselves not feminists, I want you to really look at the word feminist and really look at the definition of the word, because being a feminist does not mean that women want to take over the world, they do not want to be better than men, they just simply want to be equal. And that's a fight that, even though people say they're never going to win that, it's going to happen and the world's going to keep on turning, and yeah, we've got to keep turning with it.